By now, the meeting between Russia's President Vladimir Putin and North Korea's Kim Jong Un has already ended. The talks lasted somewhere between 4 to 5 hours, according to local media outlets that tracked the event. But the items discussed and the potential impact of the North Korea-Russian connection leaves room for an ambiguous future. Let's bring in Yahoo Finance's Rick Newman, who dabbles in all things ambiguous, to glean his insights on the matter. Hey, Rick.
Hey guys, I think Kim might actually still be in Russia, like touring the Cosmodome or something like that, checking out Russia's space program. So these two leaders had this meeting. There were no definitive announcements after it. In one respect, this is a coalition of losers. Russia, obviously, in deep trouble with its war in Ukraine. North Korea, the notorious hermit kingdom. But it could be a coalition of dangerous losers, and I think that's part of the concern. So I think this very prominent meeting between Putin and Kim, the two leaders, meant to demonstrate that there's a possible new alliance here. And this comes just a couple of weeks after President Biden met with the leaders of South Korea and Japan at Camp David here in the United States, signaling a new security alliance between those countries. So the concerns, I mean, we don't really know what is going to come out of this meeting, but possibilities are, first of all, North Korea will provide desperately needed munitions, artillery shells, and things like that for Russia in its war against Ukraine. What could North Korea ask for in return? It could ask for a lot. It could ask for help with its nuclear program, help with its missile program, perhaps submarine technology. These two nations have not always gotten along. In fact, Russia actually used to support UN sanctions on North Korea's nuclear program, but it does not do that anymore. So Russia's looking for all the friends it can get because it doesn't have very many. And we will see how much of a friend North Korea turns out to be for Russia. But it's, worrisome.
How does China fit into all of this? China, an ally, at least recently, of Russia in its conflict against Ukraine, or at least not condemning it as the rest of the world has. So should we be thinking about this as sort of new axes? How to sort of frame it?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, Russia clearly is casting about for new friends and allies. The most pertinent immediate question is, are either of these countries or any other countries going to give Russia, important weapons for the war in Ukraine? So far, China basically has not done that. North Korea has not done that for the most part. Perhaps some North Korean ammunition has gotten to Russia indirectly. The White House for now is saying we don't see major arms shipments from either of those countries to Russia, but it's clearly something to watch for. And in terms of, longer term or broader alliances, there are going to be a lot of sort of perverse outcomes from Russia's war in Ukraine. So there were different types of cooperation between Russia and the West, which meaning the United States and Europe, that have almost completely disappeared. So Russia is looking for other spheres of influence, and this is part of it. Also, Russia trying to get even more involved in Africa, including some of those coups and near coups that have sort of a Russian hand to some extent. So I think, the big question here is, where does Russia come out as a global citizen at the end of this? And will it just be a bad global citizen, or is there some way to sort of get Russia back to anything that looks constructive? For now, the outlook is pretty grim, in part because the war in Ukraine just looks like it's going to keep going for another year or two, could be even longer than that.
And Rick, as well, could there be any type of movement in an oil deal as a result of this? Could that be some of the talks that may have been had?
Well, that's another thing that has been changing dramatically during the last, 18 months since this war has been underway, is Russia has to find new customers for its oil. So that is part of what Russia wants. Russia is finding new customers for its oil for a couple of reasons. One of the big ones is Russian oil sells at a discount. So if you are buying Russian oil, which China is, which India is doing, you're getting it cheaper than the global price, and Russia just has to eat that. Russia can still make a lot of money on oil, which is its biggest source of revenue, even if Russian oil, known as Urals, sells at a discount. But oil prices are high, in part because Russia has joined Saudi Arabia in cutting production, which has pushed prices up. So this is an ongoing problem for Ukraine and all of its allies, which is that Russia continues to find customers for its oil and continues to make a lot of money off of oil. And we have, it seems to me that in terms of the price cap on Russian oil that we've talked about before, the United States and the other big nations in trying to enforce that have gone as far as they can go with a $60 price cap. Russian oil has been selling for more than that. And the Biden administration has signaled that we ain't going to do nothing to lower the price cap because we don't want Russian oil to come off the market, which could push prices up even more. And this gets back to there is a domestic concern here for President Biden. It's an obvious one. Gasoline prices, which have been way too high lately.
Rick, excellent tracking of everything from bulletproof trains all the way to some slippery oil markets here. Rick,
I want to ride on that bulletproof train someday.
I hear it's got a gym.